Hello and welcome to Discourse of Peacocks for my little later than I wanted review of the Burnley versus Leeds United, in which it ended up in a stalemate. No shocker, who could have seen that coming? We'll get straight into it. I'm probably not actually going to be like that long for this one because it was a less than intriguing game, I have to admit. So we'll get straight into the good. Um, I've had to I've had to be quite creative with my terms of good. Um, I've put that we've got a clean sheet. Obviously, the two best defences up against one another. Again, who could have seen that coming? Another clean sheet for both teams. I think Burnley's last 6 home games have ended in 0-0. I mean, wow. I know earlier on in the season I said that Blackburn were probably the most boring team, but I think Burnley might have just, taken that crown off them. But yeah, it wasn't a very exciting game. The first half was marginally better. It was like watching. Um, It was like watching, those really cheap nail varnishes that you used to get in, like, magazines? It was like watching them dry, whereas in the second half, it was like watching really deluxe, heavy, matte paint dry. So, yeah, it was just slightly improved in the first half. So, Bogle was impressive again. Again, he was probably one of our most creative players. He runs so much and creates so many opportunities that I think we're really seeing him flourish. And I think we're finally seeing the player that we were kind of promised in at the beginning of pre-season, and it's nice to watch his confidence grow. And he isn't just an ex-Derby player or an ex-Sheffield United player. He feels like our player now, which I'm really enjoying. And again, I love the link up between him and Dan James. It's one of my favourite relationships of the entire team. Um, Gruev, obviously, his first start since the Norwich away game, I believe, because that's when we got the pairing. We started off with Gruev and Tanaka, and then we ended with Rothwell and Tanaka. Um, so yeah, it was his first game back. He was back to kind of dictating, doing the nitty gritty things. Um, he looked like he was a bit sharper than his last 2 appearances as well. I'm just very, very happy that we've got him back again. I feel really confident going into this kind of last third of the season. Um, Let me just add a little bit of context there. I'm not going, over the top or anything, but I just feel our options in kind of defensive midfield, let's be more specific, but midfield in general, but specifically defensive midfield, I think we have some fantastic options, and I'm not concerned. That's one area of the pitch I am not concerned about because we have plenty of cover, even if we're having to obviously at the minute play Ampadu out of position. No shots conceded in the second half. Again, that doesn't surprise me too much in the fact that we have been fantastic with limiting teams to shots. I think it's our 6th or 7th game, half of football where we've conceded no shots on target. Joe Wainman, I believe, said that on his match reaction, which I was on the other day. So I'm not going to try and say that that was my piece of information. We did try and sort of potentially win. We at least had a shot on target, which is more than Burnley had, and we had double the amounts of shots in general that Burnley had, but we didn't really give James Trafford much to be concerned about. We attempted, but it was a bit half-hearted, but we certainly did more than Burnley did. But I don't think that was really, I think that was really that difficult to do. Um, we're top by 2 clear points. Obviously, we've got the same gap in between us and Burnley that we did do before, but we've played them now, and there is the potential for us to, go 5 points clear of second if if we beat Sheffield United away, which I actually think will be an easier game. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. I'm just saying I believe it will be an easier game, and I'm hoping that it'll be easier on the eye at least as well. Because yeah, this game was turgid, absolutely turgid. Um, we've got the best attack this season, and, there was a lot of people that were like, "They were there for the get in, we coulda got them. Daniel Farke playing too safe," and partially, I do agree, but we are the best attacking team in the league this season, whereas Burnley are the best defensive team in Championship history. We are not the most attacking team in Championship history, but they are the most defensive, like the best defensive team in Championship history. So the levels are slightly skewed in terms of what we are the best at. They are the best defensively ever, whereas we are simply the best attacking team this season. So I think it's a very good point when you look at it in kind of that context of, yes, it was frustrating. Yes, I agree they were probably there for the get in, but we didn't lose, and we battered them last time and we lost. So a good 0-0 clean sheet. Meslier didn't have to do anything, and um, and we got a point. We didn't lose. We haven't Burnley haven't made any ground on us in that sense. Yes, they've gained a point, but so did we. So it's just we're status quo. Like it is what it is. Um, so I think that when you put it in the context of they are the best defensive team in Championship history, it is a very good point. Um, Unfortunately, that's kind of it for my good. To be fair, there isn't that much. There's less bad. Um, It was a bore fest. I've, kind of already hinted heavily at that already, but it really was a loathsome game. It was terrible in terms of the entertainment factor. When I was on Joe's show the other day and talking with Jer, he made me look at things as he always does, with like a slightly different perspective of looking at it from a tactical point of view, and that it was quite interesting of how we kind of balanced one another out. But in terms of entertaining us, if Leeds performed like that at Ellen Road, there'd be riots, there'd be all sorts of things. And that's what Burnley have had all season. Oh, God. Like, I pity them, but then I remember that they choose to be Burnley fans. And then the world just kind of, it's, it works out okay in the end. I think Firpo and Rothwell should have been brought on. I think we could have won it. I'm not saying he should have made those subs earlier, because I do believe that the defensive integrity was important to keep, because even though they were ineffective, they did manage to counterattack, at least to get to the final third very, very quickly when we lost possession. So you take kind of the solidity of Tanaka and Gruev in that midfield, and you put on that slightly more creative, forward-thinking player in, Firpo and Rothwell, and we potentially succumb to the same result that we did at home, and we didn't want that. Daniel Farke didn't want that. But I would have liked to have just kind of been able to stick a middle finger up saying, yes, you beat us at home, but we beat you at home. And you've got the best defense in the league. So, ever. But it just wasn't meant to be. It's a good point. We move kind of thing. That sounded very Joe Wainman-esque. We move. God, I've been spending too much time with him. The game didn't lend itself to any of our number nines, even if Bamford was fit. but it also didn't lend itself to our number 10. Aronson was it wasn't that he had a bad game, it just the game didn't suit him, and it didn't suit Pirro, and it didn't really suit Joseph either. I would have liked to have seen more of Joseph, to just slightly tired legs, to just see if we could nick a little something. You know, not saying that he would score, but he is very good at wearing out centre backs. He's very good at his movement and being able to run. It's something that Pirro doesn't have in his locker. He is very slow. And yeah, it just that kind of game, we need some other profiles in, which I'll get onto. But it wasn't that they had a shockingly bad game. It's hard to also play creative, expansive football when you are up against, I know I'm just going to carry on beating this drum, the best defense in championship history, but also they're just so boring, so boring. The fact that people pay to see that, there's no wonder that there was tickets still available, up to at least the day before. If it wasn't so far away from where I am, I would have loved to have sneaked into the Burnley side. Um, but yeah, another point is when Daniel Farke struggles against a team, a manager, a location, Leeds seem to struggle against those same things. We saw it last year with Russell Martin. We've seen it with John Eustace. We've seen it with going away to London. And that's something that, Leeds and Daniel Farke seem to struggle with. So all of these things, whenever Leeds struggle, if Daniel Farke does okay, then Leeds are fine. But if Daniel Farke struggles, we do struggle. It's something that I noted last year, and it's something that has continued into this year. Um, but there is lots of kind of logical reasons as to why we didn't win that game. It's Burnley don't play to win. They play to keep a clean sheet and to sneak a goal. And we are, not as good defensively as them, but we are the second best in the league. So the fact that they create, I think they're like 20th or 19th in the league for creative, like, creating shots. They don't create much. We don't concede much, many opportunities to score against us. So the two of those things mixed together were never going to result in a thrilling game, and that played out. But we didn't lose. Let's move on to the moves. And by this, I mean that, again, going back to what I said that Joe said on Joe's podcast the other day about when you look at the game from a tactical point of view and not necessarily an entertainment point of view, it was interesting to watch the moves and counter moves made by both managers. They were nullifying one another with their tactical setup, their substitutes, the way that the players were both staying compact and only taking risks when there was a quantifiable chance that something could happen at the end of it. That's why, usually we, even if we don't have a ridiculous amounts of shots on target, we usually have a large amount of shots, well into the double figures. And we didn't, obviously we had 8 shots all game, and it was that one shot by Dan James that was on target. So they just nullified one another. And I made the point the other day about it's what a lot of Premier League teams, high up ones, do. I'm not saying that we are a high up Premier League team, and I'm not saying the same about Burnley. I'm just making a comparison that often the best teams do nullify one another, because there's a reason why they are the best, is they have the ability to block out what the opposition are going to use against them. And that's exactly what happened in this game. Over Daniel Farke's career in the Championship, he averages 1.89 points per game, whereas Scott Parker averages 1.88 per game. So different styles of football, but incredibly similar results. And, one thing I would quantify that is Daniel Farke has had a lot more games, so his record is actually kind of better when you look at it of ratio of games to points earned. So it was quite interesting from that point of view. And again, you have to be fairly like analytical to look at it and find some sort of area of interest, because it wasn't. Another thing is we are 5 points better off this season at this exact same point as we were in the 1920 Bielsa promotion season. So again, we're doing something right. We're top of the table. There's a tiny gap, but there is a tiny gap. It might not be a mind the gap Thomas Frank, but it'll be mind the small opening Chris Wilder. We still, going back to the whole, we don't have a number 9 and a number 10 that really suits these style of games. This is where I hope that we don't just sit on our hands. It is the 29th of January as of time of recording, and I am concerned. It was always going to be late. Anybody who thought we were going to get people in early was ridiculous, myself included. I was hoping. But yeah, it was never going to happen. I just hope that we do make moves for at least a 10 and a centre back, because if Rodon, touch wood, got injured, which we obviously desperately hope he doesn't, we don't have really suitable replacement. I don't want to see Strauch playing there. I hate exclamation mark hate seeing Strauch at right centre back. Strauch is quite niche in the fact that a lot of players can play in other positions. I don't like him as left back. I think he's probably suffers from PTSD playing left back. And I don't like him at right centre back either. I don't think he is very left footed, and he's brilliant at what he does, which is left centre back. If you keep him in that role, allow him obviously to move the ball forward, but just please don't put him at right centre back. Please go out and get somebody that can either play both or play specifically right centre back. Please, 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 please. Let's get the people that we need to just get us across the line. I know we've probably got enough, but I don't want to leave it to chance, because it won't be a fun season next year. And I'm fairly calm and pragmatic a lot of the time, but I will be devastated if we don't go up. Absolutely devastated, because it won't be like this. It won't be this fun, let's love this team kind of season next year. There'll be a lot of, we thought the last season was bad with all of the lone rats and everything like that. There will be a lot of people jumping ship if we don't go this season, and we'll have to start all over again. And we won't have Farke, because if he doesn't get us up this season, then I don't honestly believe that he gets to have that third season, which again, then we have to pay him off. So please, 49ers, do the simple thing, get the players in. That's it. Right. Oh wow, 18 minutes. Come on, I'm going to finish in less than 20 minutes. I'm on a roll. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And do you agree, disagree? Did you manage to stay awake and finish the entire game? Or were you plotting your kind of like demise and just finding that more interesting than watching Burnley waste time? Oh, another quick thing. I know that I've moved on, but hypocrites, massive, humongous hypocrites, Burnley fans booing our players when we were taking the normal allotted amount of time for throw-ins, goal kicks, when James Trafford legitimately wasted 7-8 minutes on 2 penalties the previous week. So just ginormous Lancashire hypocrites. That's that. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you would like, please become a channel member. You get to see videos a little bit earlier. I'm wanting to start making kind of members only videos eventually, just so that there's some other little extra perks. I have a notebook filled with ideas, and I've got my next video kind of written out and planned now, so that will hopefully be out maybe next week or two. But yeah, that is it for today. Let me know if you have spotted a dog in this video, and tell me if you have in the comments below. See you later. Bye.